Open Windows Podcasts. A venture of HitTheRoad Cultural Journeys. A journey in time to music and the arts for your enjoyment and enrichment. Presented by Orhan Ahıskal, DMA, solo violinist and former professor of violin and chamber music. Hi everybody, today I am talking with a very dear colleague of mine. We have been working together maybe less than 2 years now. Sebastian Adelhardt, but everybody calls him Adel.
Yeah, that's right.
Adel. We are in Munich and Adel is the Kapellmeister in Peterskirche, the oldest church settlement, even predating the city of Munich.
Yes.
It's a very historic church. It's famous as Alter Peter, so the Old Peter, which is the tower where everybody goes up to look around, see the views from Munich. So we would like to find out, okay, let's talk about you first, like where you studied, where you come from, and then we would be interesting to talk about church music. As Kapellmeister, what are your duties? What do you do?
Okay.
I know certain things, but I would like you to answer them.
Okay.
So, you studied here in Munich? Or?
Yeah, I was born and grown up in Munich. Here.
Okay.
It's my hometown.
Great.
And I was in a typical Bavarian cultured family.
Okay.
So you go every Sunday to church and you play an instrument. That's some common things in Germany, maybe.
That's a great thing, actually,
Yes.
playing an instrument and enjoying music, singing too, obviously.
Yeah, singing not so much, more playing an instrument.
What instrument?
I started with the piano.
Okay.
And my father was playing the organ in the church, not professional. He had a job at the Bavarian State, and beside of this, he played the organ in the church.
Okay.
And so every Sunday I went to church, hearing my father, and so I was we call it ministrant. I was doing the service for the priest on the in front with the red skirts and something like that.
Okay.
Thank you very much. But I was so fascinated from this big instrument in the back of the church.
With these big pipes.
Yes, the pipes and some sounds of miracle in it, and so what was it? And so I wanted to learn the organ as well. And my parents said, yes, you can. And we went to a very famous organist in Munich because of having some teachment like this. And he said, you are too small. Your legs are too small to go down to the pedals.
How old were you?
About 12.
Still too small. Okay.
Yeah, but we're not sure if this was the right
I see.
thing.
He didn't want to do it.
We went to another teacher, and he said, yes, of course, just start. And so I came to the organ, and I loved it from the beginning, more than the piano. I also played a little bit of violin in the orchestra of our school, but not so good. And this was the way to the music and to the church music as well.
Yeah, when you play the organ, I guess you get into the church music.
Yes, of course. That step is very close. when you can play the organ, some priests are calling you, can you play the service at Sunday? Our organist isn't there or something. Okay, that's very small. And so I grew up with playing the organ more and more. And in the Diocese from Munich, there is something for people who have a job or are in school, or they can do we call it C-course. C course, yes. It's a little small study of church music during the school or during.
It's like high school.
But it's separated. You go there every 14 days, 2 weeks, and you have the whole day. You have lessons in conducting, in singing, in playing organ or something like that. And that I made in the years between 14 and 16.
That's an extracurricular activity.
Yes. So it is. And it was very funny because my father did it with me together. My father was the oldest pupil and I was the youngest. So we went there and...
So you became classmates with your father.
Yeah, this was very good. There's a very nice story because my father is very intelligent and very, very strict in learning and something like that. I wasn't. Okay. And one time there was we wrote a test, and the test was given out to the pupils back from another professor who didn't write it. A professor gave his colleague the test and said, just give them the pupils the test back. And my father tells the story every time. He says, the teacher who has to give the text back, read it Adelhardt, a very, very good test, and he gave it to me, and not to my father, but it was the test of my father, of course. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah that's a very nice story. And that was
And
the
your
way.
father failed the course.
No, but
with your test.
with my test. No. He was quite near the failing, but he also solved it. Yes, and that was the first. Also, that was one of the main things why I wanted to study after I made my school church music. And then I went to the Musikhochschule in Munich after I had my Abitur, and I asked it to make the entrance examinations. And the secretary said, yes, you want to make it next year. I said, no, I've just made my Abitur, I want now to make it. Yeah, you are much too late. I didn't know everything about the schedules and how do you have to prepare it. I just wanted to make it.
Okay.
I didn't think even a lot about
deadlines and applications.
That was horrible. But next year then I made it and I passed it like a wonder. And then I studied church music in Munich from 2000 on.
Okay.
It was in 2000, yes. And the first 4 semesters I was completely over the top. It was so too much for me because first time in my life I was arranged with so very good musicians at the first time. I couldn't imagine how many geniuses in the music world are living next to me and something. It was strange, and I thought often about to break it up, to give up. Yes. But otherwise I wanted to make it, and there was built a big love for the thing. When you have to work very hard on it and so, and then I made it. Luckily, I did it.
Okay.
So, and at the end of the studies in 2005, 2006, I was grown up as a musician more, and it was easier for me to make it. But the first 2 years was really fight. Yeah, to solve.
It's not something you expected.
No, of course not. I was really, it was too much for me.
What they expected from the students, but it's a very famous school.
Yeah.
So they have very good students. In church music also, like you're talking about general.
In church music it's a center for very good. We have good teachers there. We have Michael Gläser in conducting. He was the leader of the Bavarian radio choir. Very long time, a very super coach and a super conductor. And in organ, Munich is very famous. There's a row. Karl Richter was a teacher here. Okay. Franz Lerndorfer, Edgar Krab, Harald Feller. Harald Feller was my teacher in organ. Yeah.
A big tradition.
Yeah, and so yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
And then you finished.
I finished in 2005, and then in the end of the church music study, I fell in love with conducting more and more and more. So the organ passed a step back, and the conducting came more
forward.
Yeah, genau. And so I decided to study conducting as well. And I made postgraduate studies of conducting 4 years on, from 2006 to 2010.
At the same school?
At the same school, at different teachers then. Yes.
Okay, everybody, now I have to say this. Now, Adel speaks fast, even in English, and now he speaks like that in German too.
I'm sorry about that.
No, I'm just saying my situation, like when we rehearse and you speak like that, oh my god, okay, I try to catch all the words.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, it's funny because I was thinking about that. Okay, how fast is it going? Yeah. Wonderful. You finished studying conducting, and then when did you start at St. Peter's?
St. Peter's in 2012. Before I was in Mosach. It's
a district in Munich.
District in Munich, yes. And there was the church with the most Catholics in it. 15,000 Catholics for one church. It's the biggest church, even has been in Munich and Freising. It's the Erzbistum. Therefore was the
congregation.
Yeah, genau. It was the one. Yeah. It was the biggest one. And there I had to work for an organist and conductor since 2006. I got the job there, and it was hard because I had to do everything: conducting child choirs, singing with senior people, playing school services, playing at the organ, playing sometimes on Christmas. On the Holy Evening, 24th of December, I had at least, at my last Christmas in Mosach, I had 8 services to play.
8 services?
Yes.
On the same day?
At the same day, at the 24th of December, the Holy Evening. It was not. That was not holy.
I was going to say
that was horrible. It started at 12 in the midday and ended at 12 in the midnight.
You basically didn't stop.
No, it was and there was no something like having a little dinner with the family or something like that.
At all.
You run from organ to organ, from church to church, and every service was completely crowded.
Packed.
It was crazy.
This is all in Mosach.
It was all in Mosach, yeah. So it's a big district of Munich, very much people. I think there live 60,000 people only in Mosach. And 50,000 of them are Catholic.
And they're all churchgoers.
Yes,
they come to the services.
It was crazy. But after that, I got the job in St. Peter. It was very, 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 very big luck. Because the church is... Munich is St. Peter is Munich, you can say. It was a monastery at the first time in the 8th century, and in the old German language it's Ad Munichen. Munichen, it's the monk.
The monks,
yeah. And from out Munichen has come München. So it's the name of the St. Peter's monastery, Ad Munichen. That's because we call it München, our city.
So the name Munich actually came from the word monk.
Yeah,
basically.
Munichen.
Munichen. Great. And I was reading about St. Peter's even before. I think Munich was established 1158.
Yes.
And even before then, there was a little hill here, and there was the church first since the 8th century.
Yes.
That's great. And there are remnants of that church here. And then, of course, there has been many buildings. This one also was damaged in 1945 after the bombings, and it was rebuilt. Yeah. So what do you do here at St. Peter's?
I'm here for only conducting in the services. My job here is only a job of a conductor. I don't have to play the organ anymore. Here.
You don't play the organ?
I have a very, very lovely colleague, Johanna Zoller, who is the principal organist from our church.
We will talk with Johanna too.
Really?
Yeah, I talk with her.
Greetings, Johanna. Yeah, she's marvelous. She's a very, very, very great organist. Even she's a very, very good conductor too. Yeah.
Okay.
So I have to be
careful.
I have to be very careful what I'm doing, but I like it. It motivates me. We interact very good, and the communication is great, and I love that she is my colleague. I'm very glad about it.
Yeah, she's great, because when we play the services together, I really look forward to hearing the preludes and the postludes she plays and she improvises. Yeah. It's real joy to actually listen to the whole organ and listen to her play. That's great. We will talk with her. Yeah. So you just conduct, but you also organize and plan the music for the services.
Yes, I assume. It's a lot of planning and a lot of organization in this job. I didn't think about it when but it's you have to imagine we have every Sunday at least one mass with orchestra and choir. Therefore, people have to be organized, singers, instrumentalists, and something like that. So you have to be very good in organization, things like writing emails, preparate something in further, and so, yeah.
So it's a lot of administrative work, okay? Yes. But also, when we say these services, I remember counting more than 90 people in the balcony, Empor, it was like end of June last year, I think it was.
Every time on the 29th of June, there's the Peter's Day, the day of St. Peter. And there, every day or every year, we make the great mass from Charles Gounod, the Sicilian Mass, which is more than an opera than a mass. I think. Somebody said to me, if you make this Sicilian Mass and you put some elephants on the altar or to the priest in front, you have Aida. So that's a little bit of similar. But I like the Mass very much. It's a great composition.
It is a great piece, but it's also the whole atmosphere in the church, playing a piece of music like that. It's not a huge balcony, but 90 people, including the choir and the orchestra, timpanis and trumpets.
Don't tell any one of the firemen here in Munich, please.
I don't think they might be listening. You never know.
No, but it's okay. Yeah, last year we had one singer who collapsed. Did you remember?
I did, yes.
But we have some people who work in the emergency healthcare stuff, and so she was fine a few seconds after that. So
yeah, it gets warm in there also.
Very warm.
Very warm and cramped.
Yeah.
But actually, it's a time that we miss now. Of course, we cannot do any
That's
such
horrible.
large ensembles. St. Peter's, I guess it was lucky that there's two, in the front of the church, there are two other balconies.
Yes.
Lofts, or organ loft. And then so that the choir and the orchestra could be in two different places. Therefore, you're allowed to do that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I think
because
most other churches
keep the distance. So
exactly.
That's the way we can do it. It's hard to organize it for the conducting because you have a delay with the singing. It's more than 12 meters, I think, between the two balconies, and then that's a little hard. But if the musicians are professional, and then we solve it sometimes. I think. It keeps very good, but the distance is very, very strange.
It is. I mean, you just imagine it is the main nave of the church looking at the altar, and right at the altar there is a loft up on the right, and there is another one on the left, and there is a smaller organ on the left loft, and that's where the orchestra is a small group, typically, like even like one per part kind of group. And then the singers like about
more than 10 it's not allowed, so mostly it's 8 singers or something.
8 singers across on the other loft. And that actually saved, otherwise you probably couldn't have done this in the church. That's a great thing.
Yeah, but we have good examples in the history of music. If you know the Salzburger Dom, Mozart was there performing as well in this. There's a balcony for the singers, a balcony for the continuo group, a balcony for the high strings, and a balcony for the trumpets and the timpanis. But the distance is not so much as in St. Peter's.
I was going to say that's like in the style of Xenakis or something.
For
orchestra.
A little bit of that it is.
Well, musicians, but sometimes people who are outside of music don't think of these physical aspects of music. Like you said, like, they are singing together, playing together, but it is not. Like, if we don't look at you, then by the time we hear and respond to the, let's say, singers or vice versa, then somebody's certainly late.
Yes,
so you have a big, in a church like St. Peter's, where the acoustics are boomy, then you would have a mishmash of something.
That would be very, very crazy and break out of some strangeness.
But it has been great for me also, because I did play in churches for as long as I have been in England and the US and here in Germany. And there's great music. Would you like to talk about some church music, like what you like about church music, or what pieces even? We can name pieces and recommend them to our listeners. Of course.
Yeah, there are 3 composers for church music I like very, very, very much. It's Mozart, Haydn, and Schubert. That's
of course.
Yeah, that's very great compositions. Even the late Mozart masses. That's some kind of music is only wow. And the Coronation Mass, or maybe if you want a piece that's music from heaven, I think.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's funny because I was just talking about Mozart, and when we talk about composers, there's typically, for most composers, we divide their lives into 3, like there's, the apprenticeship years, and then there's the middle period, and there's the mastership, like the late years when they mature. But when you talk about Mozart, the guy was only 35 when he died, and so there's no mature period, or this wouldn't have been his mature period if he lived on to another 30 years, or at least, like Bach, or longer, of course. Very unfortunate. I sometimes think, like, what else could he have created if he lived on? The operas, the old church music, everything, instrumental music. Yeah. So we have played a lot of mistas by Mozart. Also, Joseph Haydn.
Very underrated composer, I think. One of the most underrated composers in music history, I think. He's one of the greatest ever. That's the church music has always a sense in every note, I think. Because he's
also, meaning.
Meaning is there every time in it. Because he's also so good with the text transportation in the music. If you have something like Et incarnatus ist in the Nikolai Messe or something like that, that's such a piece of just of a holy thing, of a Et incarnatus ist, of
means what?
Fleischwerdung.
Et incarnatus.
Fleischwerdung. It's in Germany.
Okay, so
God became man.
Became man. Yeah, it is. I agree. We were just playing the Schöpfung oratorio creation, and then you listen to it, like, this sounds like Beethoven Pastoral Symphony. It was like way before Beethoven, obviously, because he was Beethoven's teacher.
Yeah, Haydn. I like it very much.
And so, of course, Schubert.
Schubert, yes.
Another guy who died. He was 31 when he died.
Yeah, very young. But Schubert, the melodies and the harmonies are so great. More the melodies. There are so intense melodies in his works. He's a famous lead composer. Yeah, you know that. But also in the masses, there's maybe we talked about me being a ministrant in the
That's right.
Yeah, and we not often had orchestral masses, services with orchestra or something like that. But our priest, where I grew up, loved the G-Dur Messe from Schubert, and there's this famous credo. It's just a choral or something like that. It's so simple with a pizzicato bass on it, and it flows all around through, and that's a piece I very, very like. And
okay, let's name the piece. It's the Franz Schubert
G-Dur Messe.
That's the G major Messe. The credo you're talking about. Yeah. Well, of course, don't just pick the credo, just listen to the whole thing, but
please do it. That's a masterpiece.
Certainly, Schubert, also a master of melody and tunes.
And we have to be very honest and careful, because if you talk about church music, you can't pass a name, and that's Johann Sebastian Bach. But we have to remember we are a Catholic church. So we are specialized for the masses, for the mass compositions. And Bach was the master of the cantatas. And we have not so much space in our service to make a cantata or something like that. Mm-hmm. That's we make in concerts. There's some so that we have also Bach in our hall.
Because Bach was a Lutheran.
Yes, and it's very hard to combine it in a Catholic mass. That's the problem. But Johanna plays very often Bach at the beginning and the end of her service, and so we hold also this.
You hold it up, okay. But also, there has been many concerts here at St. Peter's. They do these 3-4 projects, and that's where we do works by Bach, certainly cantatas we have done, and some Handel
and something like that. Yeah, that's important.
It is important for you.
Yeah, very.
Is there anything else you would like to add? Like what you would recommend to people? How music affects their lives? Because that's one of my main goals, to actually bring some kind of music to people's lives, good quality music, because I always say there's a lot of crap out there. You know?
Yeah, it is. Maybe very, really similar or easy thing, I think. I really like when the organ is playing in the church and people are singing. If you have a psalm, a very good hymn, and the people are singing, that's very nice. But that's very music at its
simple,
basics, yes.
Simple. Uh-huh.
And that's very, very, very important also for a good service, that the people are encouraged to sing.
I do actually realize that here there is a tradition of singing.
Yes.
So almost everybody participates.
Yes. That's
sometimes a little slowly.
Yeah.
Coming behind. But also there's the big distance, of course, when they're here. It is always important to enjoy music. Actually, making music is a great joy. Also, another thing I always try to say, play an instrument.
Yes.
But if you cannot, sing, that's also real joy.
And it's very touching for me if you were around everywhere in the world and you see a church and there's the organ playing and the people are singing. Mm-hmm. Even from when you're not in the church, you go around the church and then you hear this. That's always a very touching moment, I think.
Okay.
And that's very good music in the most cases, I think. That's
there's a big collection of music, of course, in the hymnals, and this is really in centuries they've collected some really great pieces that actually does evoke almost like superhuman experiences in people, because music is it's an inseparable part of the Catholic service, certainly. Why? Because it certainly brings something that sometimes even the words cannot express. Yes. That's the beauty of it.
And there's always a moment, one time in the year, I have to cry every year. I have to. And that's in the Mass of the Holy Night. At the end, when there comes Stille Nacht, Heilige Nacht. And it's such, the light is going out, only the Christmas trees and then the candles are on, and everybody sings Stille Nacht. That's very, very moving.
That's the Silent Night.
Yes.
Christmas song.
Yeah. So I think that's a very much interesting part of music making in the church is the singing of everybody who is in there and that's even as much important as the compositions. As Mozart, Haydn, Schubert. On these composition sides, there are so many more to say. Oh God, where I have to begin and to end? That's nearly impossible.
But it is the getting together and then making music together. Yeah. That's part of the. Yeah. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, I think that's very important. That's so important.
People participate actively in the mass. Great. Well, thank you very much. Anything else you'd like to say? Or I'm really thankful we have been playing together. It was thanks to Hannes.
Yeah.
Hannes a great friend of ours. Yeah. And Hannes asked me if I would be interested in playing. I was like, of course, I would love to. And then I got into the Adels Angels WhatsApp group. And then I started following because I was not in the main list at the time. And if somebody couldn't do it, and I started coming. And it really has been every single piece. And we do meet. There's very little time.
Yeah, short time, yes.
It's like the service currently starts at 10 o'clock. Yes. We get together at 8:45 and we have like 45 minutes to rehearse the piece. But the musicians who come here are very high level professionals, so you really typically the results are amazing. You know, it's like, wow, look at this in 45
sometimes
minutes.
It's not too bad sometimes.
not at all. Not at all. Look, I have a minute. You know, however difficult it is, it has been real fun. I've really enjoyed it, and thank you for the opportunity. Also,
of course. You're very warm welcome.
Thank you. So hopefully, all this when this Corona thing is gone, we'll continue with the bigger piece.
We hope.
I'm sure.
And then everybody should come and hear.
Okay. Well, come to Munich, and when you are here, certainly come to. If you're here on a Sunday, come to the St. Peter's, right next to Marienplatz, which is the center of Munich.
Yes.
Across from the Rathaus, the municipal building.
Yes.
And then you will always hear some great music and organ playing.
Yes.
We can't promise you that.
We try our best.
Is there any place they can actually find more information or videos and anything online?
We have a new homepage from the Alter Peter. It's alterpeter.de.
So that's ALTER. PETER.de, Germany. Okay. I've seen some of the pages. Right, they just redesigned it.
It's brand new.
This is brand new.
New.
And they can find about the church services.
There's a music button or something like that, and there you can find. But you can also find something about our culture of the history of the church, and everything is in it.
That's great.
We try to make it good.
I did see there was like a big bombshell or something like that. It got stuck on the wall.
That's some of our curiosities we have in our churches.
That's right. Yeah. Well, Adel, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm sure people will enjoy our talk, and they will hopefully one day visit Munich and come see the music at the St. Peter's.
Yeah, cool.
Be well, stay healthy, and thank you so much for
all the best for you
today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining me today at another Open Windows podcast of Hit the Road Cultural Journeys. Hit the Road is an artistic and educational project that has evolved and been developed in the last 30 years artistically to promote solo violin works that are rarely or never performed, also to educate audiences about different aspects of Western classical music. And we value your support. Please consider supporting Hit the Road Cultural Journeys and become a valued member of Hit the Road Inner Circle. Visit our page at patreon.com, type HitTheRoad, and watch our introductory video. You can support this project then by choosing a membership level and with your small monthly contributions. Hit the Road needs you. Until next time, all the best.